The scorpion hermits of Cotter hear the stone ship powered by darkness rise away from their world. They look out through little peepholes and see undead frogs still swarming. The scorpions turn to one another and say, "It looks like we're frogged." Hello, and welcome back to Sphere Hoppers. I am your host and storyteller, Royce Rosewood. Pretty big events in the last episode, and we had a lot of response to Cam's death. Kat from Hamburg, Germany, recommended a supplement called My Bones Are Ready to Hatch, and these reminded me that there is a table in the GOZR book, and the table is called Wizard Death is Always Weird. So one of the things that happens when you're playing three systems simultaneously is that you forget things. And I was a little bit in shock at Cam's death, honestly. So I didn't recall that there was this table, but I think this is something that we need to use in order to play through. Here's this table. Wizard Death is Always Weird. So we're going to roll on this. There's a lot of different weird things that can happen, and we're going to see what happens. Rolling a d20. 9. Eyes radiate. We're going to pick up right where we left off. They've laid Kim's body on the bed. They're all in the ship. As they say goodbye, everyone else leaves. Zamzis stays by the bedside. As they are waiting, they see this light come from Kim's three eyes. It gets brighter and brighter, and Kim is still on the bed, but their eyes are glowing. And they're glowing with sort of golden honey color. And Zamzis goes and grabs everybody, says, look what's going on. And they all pile back in. Kristen says, "Oh, that's weird. This is a strange universe that we live in, and there's a lot of strange things that happen all the time." Samji says, "Does anyone know what's going on? Suvara, you deal with gods. Do you know what's going on?" Does Suvara know what's going on? I'm going to call that very unlikely. 95. That is an extreme no. Not only does she not know what's going on, it's kind of weirding her out. She says, I don't know. I need to go spend some time with my horse. Actually, I will be right back, maybe later. Kristen says, I'm gonna go make us some dinner. So it's Dragog and Zamzis. Dragog says, I'm so sorry. I know that we're all here because of me and my quest to find these orbs so that I can locate the sphere of the gods. I'm so sorry that your friend paid the ultimate price for this. And Zamzis holds up the orb, which is still making that strange, quiet music. This is a strange twist of fate. And Dragog says, there are ways, there are methods. Death is not necessarily the end. The cost is steep to bring back someone, but it can be done. Zamzi says, if I had the chance, if I had the opportunity, I would perhaps seek that out. But for now, we must continue this quest. We must, to honor Camp's memory. Now, the other question is, and this was a great question, what happens to the wizard's watcher? Now, in GOZR, every wizard has a watcher. This is a strange being that keeps tabs on the wizard and sees how they're using their magic, and there's many different forms. And we don't really know much about them. I don't even know if they exist on the material plane, or if they're an incorporeal being, or either the watcher is going to stay with the body or is going to go. And I don't know which is which. So we'll call it 50-50. Does the watcher stay with the body? 92. That's an extreme no. The watcher is not around. So we continue. We are on our way to Ashwati. Between the spheres encounter now, we are almost out of fuel. We've got enough to get us to Ashwati, but once we get there, we're out. So we're going to have to figure out some way. If we want to leave Ashwati, which we probably do, we'll need to get some darkness. But first, we must roll on our die of fate. 9. Nothing? All right, so what's our between the spheres encounter? 2. An entity. All right, so we're rolling on this table from between the skies. What do we encounter? 6. A rival NPC. All right, we've got 3 tables here. We've got powerful, not necessarily powerful, and weirder. So I'm going to roll on this to see which one we get. 2, so not necessarily powerful. 16. A smoking agitator. And what kind of a being is this? An undead to a fleshy undead. And what does their ship look like? It is made of unmelting ice in the shape of 33, a skull. So as they leave Cotter and are in between the spheres on their way to Ashwati, they see this giant ice skull. I imagine the skull opens. They see this fleshy undead being, so kind of like a zombie, kind of step out of the jaw. And they've got smoke coming off of them. And they say, "You there, I'm gonna get you." An agitator, right? Someone who just kind of like provokes people, maybe for some political means. We don't know yet. But I'm wondering, is this related to the undead frogs? We're so close, it seems very likely. 70, yes. And then behind the agitator, they see these undead frogs that are ready to jump out of the mouth of the skull. Zamzes says,
"Look, the undead frogs. This is the source of the undead frogs. We must stop this person."
Zamzes is the gunner. They are going to go up onto the ship, and we do have some sort of basic weapon. I don't know what it is. And, we don't really have rules for ship combat, so we're just going to kind of make it up as we go. But Zamzes does have this I-beam. I wonder if they would be able to fire off their I-beam from sort of the bow of the ship. And we'll make this an opposed roll. We'll say that the ship has a skill of 10 or equivalent, which means versus Zamzes 8, the ship has an advantage of +2. So even with the advantage, Zamzes is able to get a hit and do some damage with this I-beam. Okay, 5, that's going to be 9 points of damage. I don't know how many hit points this ship has, but presumably more than a person. Zamzes standing here on the deck of the ship, shoots their I-beams out and, slices off a portion of this ship. I would say it's some sort of critical system. This ice skull is now sort of drifting in space. And Kristen comes up and says, "Zamzes, I know,
I know you want to fight these guys, but we are low on fuel. Okay, we cannot get into a costly fight right now. We've taken out their ship. We gotta keep going. We're almost to Ashwati. We gotta get there. Okay. He says, fine. But if we ever see them again, I am taking them out.
We gotta get these guys on the character list. The Smoking Agitators Undead Frogs. Because we need more things going on. They move on, not wanting to risk more fuel and be dead in the water, so to speak. They leave the disabled ice skull ship and continue to Ashwati. We've made it to Ashwati. We roll on our Die of Fate. 3, that's going to be an encounter. Okay, so we'll generate kind of what's going on here, and then we'll generate the thing that we encounter here. Tell us about Ashwati. Forested hills. 43, symbiotic flora. Elusive fauna. The population. 41, hungry. Landing site. 34, an outpost. 65, crowded. There's a forest, and there's a clearing in the forest. And there's an outpost, so, some sort of small... It's not quite right. It's not a permanent village, right? That's sort of built up as this encampment, but they come in and land, and for whatever reason, there's a lot of people here. It's crowded, and they are hungry. People start to kind of mill about the ship and say, "Do you have food? Do you have food?" And Kristen says, "Do I have food?
Well, just you wait. If you're all hungry, we can cook something up. Let's see what we can find." Zamzi says, "I will go looking for fungus in the woods with my fungi of the four realms."
And Kristen says, "All right, you do that. I'll get some other things ready." This is Fungi of the Four Realms. I think last time I showed this off, the other camera wasn't working, but I just want to show you how beautiful this is. It's a book. It's just a whole bunch of different fungus. So we're going to roll 3d6. We'll go red, yellow, blue, and we'll see which fungus we find. All right, 212. Chronometer puffball. Looks like a fairly innocuous puffball, except for the dark, almost indigo coloration of the external gleba. What makes this species interesting is that when it ejects spores, it does so in sharp bursts. And the time between the bursts is always exactly 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Whilst this isn't very useful for telling the time, per se, they can be used to calibrate clocks to ensure they are running correctly. And the flavor and mouthfeel is rubbery and dry, and the aroma is floral in a medicinal kind of way. Well, I don't know that these don't sound particularly good for eating. So Zamzis comes back and says,
"Oh, I don't know if they're good to eat, but if you need a timer, these puffballs are great."
So Kristen says,
"Okay, I don't know. These people, they seem really hungry.
I'm imagining that there may be like stores of supplies, of foodstuffs that Kristen has, and they'll be able to sort of scrape together sort of the last of the supplies and use them all up to feed these hungry people. But the people are kind of coming in, they see that there's the chef and they're cooking, and they smell the food. And Suvara says, okay, everybody just calm down. We'll get you some food. Hey, why don't we all sit down, and I've got a puppet show for you. Okay, let's just watch the puppet show. Suvara pulls out her puppets of Mira. She'd been waiting for this opportunity to do her puppet show somewhere. She's got a rapt audience, so it doesn't have to be a successful performance. We will test her skill of 4 just to see how it goes. Mira said that she just had to perform it. It didn't have to be good. Let's see how it goes. 8. So it's not great. It's a little confusing. All the voices kind of sound the same. But she does her best, and she, communicates the message of Mira, which is, look for the magic in the rocks. Rocks everywhere have magic that you can find. That is the message of Mira, the god of geomancer puppeteers. And the people are hungry, and, they're like, whatever, this is kind of weird. We don't really get it. Just give us the food. Missionaries, always making you hear their thing before they give you the food. It's not exactly what's going on here. Having done that, a new little badge appears on Suvara's sash. I imagine it's maybe a puppet and like a crystal. She's like, yes, I got the badge of Mira. All right. In the meantime, Kristen is doing the best to kind of scrounge up this food and cook, for this crowd that's closing in, very hungry. So let's see how he does. Testing cooking. Great. That's 7. He rolled 5. That's a success. So he's got these herbs and Kristen puts on this big show. Everyone's sort of gathered around the ship and he's up on the deck of the ship and he's flying and he's cooking and he's delighting everyone with this meal that he makes. Yeah, so everyone is like, yes, oh, great. And they feed everyone. And I think this would count as darkness, right? These people were hungry. They had this darkness, and we've taken that darkness from them, delighting them with this show and this food, which satisfies their need because they're hungry. So I will say that generates 1 unit of darkness fuel. So we ran out. We were at 0 when we got here, and now we've got 1 unit. Oh, and we were going to have an encounter here too. All right, so I'm just going to roll on this encounter keywords table. 23. There's a birth. There's rubble. And there's songs. And then, I just need to know, why are all these people here? What's this outpost? Factions table. 43. They are fortune tellers. So they're all here. They're all reading each other's fortunes. There are too many people here, right? It's crowded, and somehow they've exhausted their food supplies, and maybe this was some sort of gathering that, was a little poorly planned or whatever. If they're fortune tellers, they should have been able to know that was coming. And then one of the fortune tellers is pregnant, and they go into a tent and they give birth, and people are around, and they're singing these songs, and I think they're going and finding little pebbles and stuff in the woods. So they go and find pebbles, and they're sort of gathering it around this tent, and this is sort of a ceremony, and people are doing their songs, and maybe this has been going on for a while, and then at a certain point in the day, people are eating and they've seen the show and they've been having fun, and then they come out and they say, oh, we've got a new baby. Yay. And everybody cheers, and they sing the songs, and it's just this great festival atmosphere. And, even though the crew has lost their friend and companion in Cam, there's sort of this reminder with this birth that life goes on and there are these cycles. But if there are fortune tellers here, I'm wondering if they get a fortune. I think Kristen is busy, and maybe Zamzis. I think Zamzis is still kind of in mourning, but I think Dragog and Suvara will go out and see if they can get a fortune. This person says, would you like a fortune? And Dragog and Suvara, okay, great. And they sit down on these logs. The woman, has this deck of cards and shuffles it up and pulls them out and reads the symbols. So we'll roll on our story cubes to see what we get. We got a cell phone. Towers. We've got an igloo. Someone is trying to reach you. Someone is trying to send you a message. They want you to know that they're in an incredible place. An incredible place of towers and majesty. And that even though around them there is coldness, they are in a space of warmth and they are protected from the cold. This is the message that this person has for you. And Dragog and Suvara kind of look at each other and they're like, well, I wonder if could this be Cam trying to reach at us? Suvara, of course, is like, do you guys have like a god or something? You know, I'm always wanting to meet new gods and you know, go on quests for them. Do they have a god? Or are they just sort of, you know, I'm just going to call that unlikely, just based on my own assumptions about fortune tellers who sort of operate on their own. But this is a strange world, so we'll see. 79. That's a no. No, we serve no god. We connect with the energies of the universe to deliver messages. And Sephiroth's like, oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for that message. And Dragog and Sephora go back, and when there's a time, they go talk to Zamzes, and they say, okay, you know, Zamzes, this was a little strange, but you know, we did get a fortune, and it seems like it might have been from Cam, and it sounds like Cam is okay. Is in a place where they're feeling safe and warm, and a place of majesty. So take with that what you will, do with that what you want. Zamzes says, yes. Okay, thank you. I will. That does help. I do miss my friend, but perhaps there will be something that we can do to bring them back. All that out of the way, remember what we were here to do. We're here to find pointage, right? And so, having been fed, the fortune tellers are feeling good, and Dragog is asking around, saying, have you seen a dwarf? Have you seen this dwarf with wings? And yeah, I'm just going to say yes. We've come this far. Pointage is around somewhere. In fact, I have ideas for what Pointage has been doing. And they say, oh yeah, a dwarf with wings came through here a while ago. You know, there's a village. If you keep going through the woods this way, you know, maybe a day or two, there's a village. It's called Hyranek. Yeah, there's a dwarf that matches that description in this village. And so the crew, now knowing where they're headed, I don't know if they can take the ship there or not, but anyway, they go to this village of Hyranek. And that, my friends, is where we're going to leave it today. And then what we're going to do next episode is we're going to kind of wind the tape back a little bit and see what Pointage has been up to in the intervening time since we last saw Pointage in the Troika campaign. And what we're going to be using is Apothecaria, a solo RPG by Anna Blackwell. And we're also going to be using the Maker's Market expansion. And this is the system that we're going to be using to see what Pointage has been getting up to. But you'll have to check that out next time on Science Fantasy Awesome on Sphere Hoppers. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your comments about Cam and your concern. It really warms my heart that people are connecting and following along to these characters. So that's great. So if you're enjoying this, please like, subscribe, and share. And come back next time when we play Apothecaria. This is Science Fantasy Awesome, and you are awesome.